Climbing Denali starts with a bang. Massive peaks rise up around you, and giant crevasses zip by below. As the Super Cub winds through the Alaskan range, you feel the full mixture of emotions. Fear, excitement, adventure, and apprehension. And you hope you've done enough to prepare yourself for what's ahead. After a short ride, the plane touches down at the Spartan base camp, and you and your team scramble to unload the hundreds of pounds of food and gear needed for the next month. Before long, you're watching the plane fly back to civilization, and you're left on the mountain with the task of traversing the massive frozen landscape ahead of you. The first day is heavy and clumsy, as you're getting used to the 70-pound backpack on your body and the 40-pound sled dragging behind you. The focus of the day is finding a rhythm that will let you drift through the miles, while you take in the beautiful and untouched Alaskan panorama. As our team worked our way over the lower mountain, we got to know each other much better. The team was made up of Tom, a Washingtonian closing in on the 50 state high pointers, John, a New Hampshire native with a great family cheering him on from back home, Alex, a digital nomad who most recently called Wyoming home, Tim, the Iron Man and former Marine, and finally Ben, a Renaissance man with a Matterhorn summit under his belt. In addition to that team, we also had our fantastic RMI guides, Mike, Avery, and Luke, who kept us safe and well fed throughout the trip. We had made great progress from base camp and arrived at 11,000 camp in 4 days. However, our exuberance and progress would quickly be tempered by a massive 9-day storm, which stopped us in our tracks.
Don't expect me to put the same effort into it.
So our tent just got blown over. God damn. During the storm, we kept ourselves busy by reading, eating, counting the number of tent stitches, and generally doing anything we could to distract ourselves from the wind, cold, and monotony. After what seemed like an eternity, we finally awoke to blue skies and the warm sun. With this good news, our team was eager to break down our camp and move up the mountain. We were fresh and well rested, and we headed up the increasingly steep terrain of Motorcycle Hill and Squirrel Hill. After cresting those ridges, we trudged across the polo field and made the turn around Windy Corner before cruising into our new camp at 14,000 feet.
To be someone and left, it was just like all I want is to just have fun.
This is truly one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I don't know if this will come through in the video at all, but just look at this. What up, Tom? Woo! It's just endless. Gorgeous. Good day. Now we're chilling. Feeling good. I like my hat.
Our relief at reaching 14 Camp was short-lived, as the mountain turned violent. We learned that a climber had fallen 1,000 feet off a treacherous section of the route ahead. Helpless, we watched a search and rescue extracted the unresponsive climber. As we watched him fly away, we had no knowledge of the outcome. We would learn months later that through the miraculous work of search and rescue, he had survived his critical injuries. While our hearts went out to the injured climber, we had little time to dwell on the accident. Another storm front was scheduled to slam into our camp, bringing with it hurricane-force winds of up to 70 miles per hour. We spent the rest of the day and the next fortifying our camp walls and digging in for the storm.
I'm out here shoveling. It's pretty heinous out. Trying to keep our tent from blowing away.
The one constant of Denali is that there is no constant. Every day brings with it its own unique challenges. We learned this during the storm when we were rocked by a 6.1 magnitude earthquake. The earthquake raised serious avalanche fears in camp, as 14,000 feet lay below a large ridge. Luckily, despite some rumbling, we escaped any serious issues. The storm broke on the third day, and our team geared up to move up to 17,000 foot camp. We had spent 21 days on the mountain, and with our food beginning to run low, we knew everything would have to align perfectly for us to get an attempt at the summit. A hard and steep climb brought us out of 14 camp to the base of the fixed lines. For the next 600 feet, we used Jumars, crampons, and ice axes to clamber up a 70-degree ice wall. After topping out above the fixed line, our team found itself on an airy ridge far above the cloud cover. We had beautiful 360-degree panoramic views. The rest of the day led us across a knife's edge ridge before bringing us into 17 camp. For many, this turned out to be one of the hardest days of climbing, as well as one of the most spectacular. During the climb, the altitude was without a doubt the most critical factor. With heavy loads, recovery was difficult, and with less oxygen, it made it even more challenging. As a result, by the time we reached our camp that evening, everyone was dealing with some degree of altitude sickness, loss of appetite, and nausea.
Here at the diving board, it's next to 17 camp. That down there is 14 camp. See the West Buttress proper. That feature right there is Washburn Summit. You can see all the climbers on the ridge that we climbed yesterday. Much nicer day yesterday, but we were too exhausted to take any pictures or anything. It's the fixed lines that go down that route there. Up along here, and dropping down. Our tents are set up over there. That's the Autobahn to Denali Pass. Denali Pass at 18,000 feet. And then you hook a right, and after a while you're at the summit.
On day 23, After 24 hours of fitful rest, our group made an attempt on the summit. With ambient temperatures between -20 and -30 degrees, and gusts up to 30 miles an hour, frostbite impacted our group heavily and made removing a mitten to capture footage nearly impossible. The extreme altitude and biting cold forced a retreat from over half of our group. Finally, after 12 hours of hard climbing, the remaining climbers neared the summit. For most, the summit of Denali represented a major life goal, and gazing across the vast, untouched Alaskan mountain range, the camaraderie built through the shared hardships made this place and this moment even more profound. There are many ways to end this story, and while the climb down was equally as eventful as the summit, filled with helicopter rescues, airy ridges, and extreme hardship, those are stories for another time. What I can say is that everyone took something away from the mountain. For some, the experience led to accomplishing a major life goal. Others were stymied by the mountain, but vowed to return. For some, the failure to make the summit was a bitter failure, while others who also failed to summit look back with fond memories of the journey and those they met along the way.